Earlier, I did a video talking about one of the few bright spots of 2020 after it being such a terrible year. Was the news that the Snyder Cut would indeed be released on HBO Max. And one of the surprising elements of it was that it would be structured as a 4-part miniseries. And that made sense as original content. It was certainly something that sweetens the pot for a streaming service and whatnot, and expands upon whatever franchises they offer within it. And so, especially since the movie is so long, that you could break it up into a series, and then that possibly this sounded like it could lead to more. And there was all this hope for the Snyderverse being restored, and all these rumors about the possible new sequels to Justice League to finish off the story that Snyder had intended, and then possibly getting Ben Affleck to complete his Batman story, and maybe that could even be a series. And oh man, it was getting cooler and cooler, and all the Green Lantern and all that. It's not gonna happen. I really wanted it to be true, but I don't think it is. And now we've got confirmation that it will not. Suddenly, it will not be a miniseries. It will be put on the HBO Max all at once, a 4-hour movie, and that's it. Before that, you had Walter Hamada weighing in, saying it's just a storytelling cul-de-sac. Well, it's a dead end. There's nothing more to come out of it. I don't know what happened. It seemed like, the AT&T had given the marching orders, and that they saw this as the vehicle upon which could garner the hype and excitement for HBO Max and to move forward, barring a disastrous result, and that the returns on Snyder Cut would be terrible, that it just wouldn't perform well enough. So then you would make your decision of, well, never mind. If it does smashingly well, then I suppose that could change things. But there also seems to be a lot of egos that are very angry at each other going on behind the scenes here about what's all happened, and the relationship is not a good one. Things like Ray Fisher's bizarre antics that got him fired. He's done. He's never going to be Cyborg again. Didn't help. There's a lot of baggage that came with it. You had his weird meltdown, whatever that was, which initially he didn't have any scandals or anything. He just made one for himself out of thin air. Then you had Ezra Miller choking that woman. And of course Amber Heard and her ongoing war with Johnny Depp. But all three of these characters, or actors rather, were valuable because they were in the Snyder Cut, and I thought that's what was the saving grace of why they're still being looked upon, in the case of Amber Heard, Aquaman 2, and of course Ezra Miller playing the Flash in the Flash movie, that I'm guessing is still a deal. There's, up till recently, there'd been a lot of talk about it and who's going to be in it and all that stuff, and that Ben Affleck's Batman would give it its farewell in that movie, which I think that's what it's going to be, if it gets done at this point. But, oddly enough, of the three, and I wouldn't have thought it, it seems Ezra Miller was the smartest of the three. He's kept very quiet since that incident. So who'd have thunk it? So, and then, of course, Wonder Woman's debut as being their first foray of having the movie released in theaters and on HBO Max simultaneously. Didn't go very well. The movie is just not very good. And so that must have soured things. I don't know. Who knows who's mad at who? But I think this is a one and done. And I guess you'll have to wait and see what they do with the Flashpoint movie. I guess they'll go forward with some acknowledgement that the universe has been altered by the Flashpoint movie, and Robert Pattinson will be the main Batman going forward, if he's still around, because the rumors on that set are pretty bad. And from what I've seen, there's only a couple of shots here and there that I thought kind of looked cool, but I'm not sold on him being a convincing Batman. So none of it looks good. The only possible saving grace, I suppose, if they could get a deal for Henry Cavill to have a good Superman film, but the clock's ticking, and he might be better off just sticking with The Witcher and possibly taking on James Bond. And Warner Brothers is its own worst enemy. One way or another, they figure out a way to shoot themselves in the foot. And I don't know, but this looks... I'm just going on my gut feeling on this, but these different elements coming out, and Snyder confirming it's going to be all one shot, and Hamada saying, yeah, it's done. Don't want to deal with it anymore. I don't have any optimism for DC films at the moment. This all sounds pretty bad. And the gut feeling is, there's some sort of probably more arguments between the camps and not being able to get along and just deciding, let's just walk away. And that appears to be the case. And then, and then compounded with Wonder Woman bombing, that's pretty bad. But it says, hey, why should Snyder Cut suffer that fate? Well, it might be they're going to move away from the DC franchise. It's not worth the investment if it's not bringing it in, So, that's pretty bad. So there was always an undue burden on the Snyder Cut that it would have to perform better than just good. It would really have to draw people in. So it could do well, but that wouldn't be enough, and so this kind of stuff kind of sours the deal. Like, well, okay, it'll be an interesting curiosity, but there's no reason sticking around because there's not going to be any more afterwards. We'll have to see what Suicide Squad does, and their Peacemaker series that's going to spin out of that. But it's not looking good. So the only thing that would change course is if Snyder Cut is so amazing and performs so well, becomes the talk of the town, and people just have to tune in. It's unlikely that a movie in and of itself could do that on a streaming service. I would have thought that an exciting first episode of a miniseries could possibly, and kind of space that out to draw people in. All that's been canceled. So I think it's just drop it on there like it's the old days of straight to DVD and move on, apparently. So, sorry. That's what it looks like. Hopefully it turns around, but I think that's unlikely. Even if it's good, it would have to be this, super duper masterpiece. And I don't think it can, because even whatever extra footage that he put into it, it's not a complete story. It's not the complete story it was intended to be. It's supposed to be part 1 of 3, So, it's often said, but it's often said because it's true. It's we just can't have nice things, Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.